What? Hello guys, welcome back to the kingdom. So, episode 9, and it's time for the gold farm. I'm both excited and terrified to build this thing. Seriously. Before we go on to that, there's a few things in the world I need to talk to you first. So first of all, the iron trench stopped working during last snapshot. I think it's to do with the lags in the actual internal server on the snapshots. I hope it is anyway. Maybe it'll start working again sometime in a newer snapshot. I don't know, but currently it doesn't work. It only works with one village. So that's that. Second bit is I did change up these shifting platforms. You can see the lag. Look at that. Look, you can see the lag in the internal server. That's just in the snapshot. Also, this I changed to my gold farm design. It looks very nice. It works very well. And what happens though, I found with when you're shifting these floors, if you log out when this is mid-moving, it seems, there's a chance that these fence gates turn into ghost blocks. Now, I had to keep updating these and breaking them and fixing them each time they got broken. So what happens also, as they were shifting, they sort of went invisible, and then when you log back in, you've got an invisible block halfway between the blocks, and you can't break it, you can't interact with it, you can place blocks on top of it, and randomly after maybe 20 minutes of playing around with blocks and trying to put things on it and such, the block would just disappear and then I could act like normal. Otherwise it would be a block that I couldn't do anything with, couldn't push, couldn't break, couldn't anything. Just a ghost block. So hopefully this gold farm won't have any of those issues at all on this build, because that would be an absolute pain to go back and sort of fix each bit. But as I'm not using fence gates in it, it hopefully will be okay. Hopefully. So next thing is that I've got a load of cactuses, so I've got to make myself a cactus farm. Now, I did this at the end of last episode, just after I finished filming. I thought, no, I need some cactuses to build this farm. How many loads of cactuses? So I thought, I set up this, and it's not exactly a efficient cactus farm in any way, shape or form. This is just here to get some random cactuses as we go. All I've done is half slab these out so that when the cactus grows one more step, I can't place on top of that, it'll pop off and then fall off. Now, most of this got hoppers underneath it. If I just show you here, hoppers here, so some of it goes into the hoppers and gets collected into this sort of sorting system and so on. Some of it anyway. I've got rather a lot of cactus, so I don't need it any more efficient for the moment. I think we see here just a bit of the overflow and a bit more cactus in there. No, fair enough. We've got loads of stuff. In here, the gunpowder goes all the way up to here. So yeah, almost need to get more sand, and I have been getting more sand. I've got loads of TNT. So yeah, it's pretty efficient now. So we go through to the nether. I've grabbed a load of stuff for the gold farm itself. Okay, so here are all the materials I've got so far ready. Let's go through them. So string, lots of string around, I need a lot of it. Iron blocks, cactuses, sand, more redstone, comparators, I need a few more of them actually. Hooks and random blocks, pistons, string, wool, hoppers, redstone blocks. Yep, that's a lot of them, isn't there? Glowstone. So my string farm is actually producing about 20 stacks of string an hour. My triple spider spawner, so it's pretty cool. Now for each of these pads I'm going to be doing on the farm uses these resources, so 140 redstone blocks, I'm using them to do half slabs for the shifting floor. 170 string and so on. You can see all the stuff there. I can just stand there for a second. That's what I'm building out of. And we're going to start off by building one platform at a time, building it up, doing tests at each platform change, logging down how the rates of gold change. It's going to be a little tiny guide. It's not going to be very accurate at all, but give you a little indication of how good it's getting or not, and how much it's improving each time with the more pads we add. And then we look at doing sorting systems for it, taking it through the overworld and doing things with the gold. So I'm going to set up the first load of pads, and I'll get back to you to show you the progress. Okay, so the bottom of the towers are laid out. They're about 10 blocks above the bedrock surface, so there's a good way between these bits and the floor for hoppers, sorting systems and anything else without needing item elevators. So what you're looking at is a load of confusing things. So there are two rectangles over here, so one bigger and shorter and one longer and thinner. So you're looking at those two for each side. Now each one of them is showing the middle bit, which is a bit wider, is showing the actual drop area for the mobs to fall into. let's have hoppers underneath that. And then the bigger one around that and inside it as well is where the whole sides of the shifting floors are going to go, so where the piston's going to go, where the hopper's going to go for the timings on that. So right at the bottom it will be just this bit here with cactuses around it in a pattern, and then above we would have the full size of it. And I was mapping it out so that I knew that these corner ones wouldn't actually sort of collide. So it's a bit different from the video I showed before with the gold farm stuff, and I went through the pads and everything else. And the pads I'm going to be using are pretty much identical to the ones in the video, apart from using 100% comparators, so there's less light updates, we hope maybe, just to see if that eases lag at all. Now I've already planned it out. I'm going to do 8 towers altogether with 4 pads on each. In total that's going to be just under 4,000 spawning spaces. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of potential for gold in this, and we'll see how good it's going to be. And at each of the top of the platforms will have a gas crusher on, mainly just for a roof, to be honest, on the pads. I talked to Impulse about it as well when we were talking about why do you really want the gas part? Is it that necessary? Do you want to do separate pads just to have gas on it? And the answer is no, not really. No, if 1 or 2 gas tiers get down from the top to the bottom of the pads now and then that'll be enough to do whatever potions I want. So it's just a nice way of doing it, and it gives a roof to the farm, which is quite nice. So the other thing was that people said that I have 3 high slimes that can spawn in my pads, and that's true. Whereas if you did a 2 high version, you only get 2 high slimes. But I'm using redstone blocks. I could use half slabs, so I jump onto the test world. Okay, so I've designed the platforms for this farm to be 3 blocks high, not 2. This is so that I can compact the redstone and make it cheaper and less pistons in it, therefore less laggy. So when I'm having 4,000 spawning spaces, there's quite a lot of pistons in this, about 20 stacks. So I don't really want to get huge lag from a farm which I'm only getting gold from. I don't need it. Don't have to have it running all the time. I don't really want it lagging me out at all. So less pistons the better. So my farms are 3 high. Now from this you can get magma cubes to spawn. You can get 3 by 3 magma cubes spawning in here as it's 3 blocks high. And with redstone blocks as your block for the pads, they'll get stuck in here, they jump up and down for ages and ages and ages and ages, and eventually wriggle their way out and they die. And that's what I thought was acceptable. Now they don't happen too often, and we'll probably see if it makes a difference or not. Now if I replace them with half slabs, it'll give the magma cube 3.5 blocks high to jump around in. It'll get out of the farm a lot quicker like that. On the other hand though, if I use a 2 high version, so JL's one, just any 2 high version, then I would have either 2 blocks high, so therefore 2 by 2 slimes could spawn. I'm just going to call them slimes now. 2 by 2 slimes could spawn and do the same sort of wriggling around, getting stuck and everything else. Now the thing I found when I was doing the overworld slimes is that if you give a slime 1.5 blocks a gap, a 2 by 2 slime can spawn. So in that theory I'm assuming the same thing would happen with magma cubes. So if I did a 2.5 high gap, if you had the next platform down 1 instead of there, then you would get 3 by 3 slimes getting stuck here, and maybe they would spawn inside this and would be even hard to get out. So in theory I could go to doing this and make it easier if I had huge troubles, but even if I have some trouble with magma cube spawning, I don't really think it's going to bother me how the actual gold rate's going to change at all. So we'd live with that. Another thing was that I said on that video I would just do them stacked next to each other to be efficient with the cactuses and such. Well, I'm not going to do that on this one. I've got so many cactuses and sand, I'm not really that bothered. But I am doing them in such a way so I'd have one there, and then one leading off that way, and then they all feed into each corner. So there'd be 2 giant towers into each corner. They go into sorting systems and everything else separately. Then they go into a central funnel to another sorting system to make sure everything was caught out, and then they'll go into the portals on each side. So that's how it's going to work. Now let's go back to the world. Okay, so hopefully you understand which direction the farm is going in now. You kind of got an idea if you're a bit confused before or hadn't seen the gold farm video. So each of these corners are going to work together, funnel things into a central bit on each side. So this is one side and that's the other. go into this little dot bit in the middle, get sorted and everything else, come into the portal from that side, and the same sort of thing here into the other side. That's the principle. Now, I've been using lots of glowstone. I will use a lot of glowstone in this build. Not because ghast can destroy it, that's a bad part of it, but it's because I have so much of it, it's come in my ears. I even use glowstone as torches when I go caving now, because I have so much of it and it's so nice to use. So don't worry about the glowstone usage, it's good. And the main point is that mobs don't spawn even in the nether, so it's perfectly spawn safe, which is a very, very good tool for the nether. No, you get any mob spawning there otherwise, and it's not because of the light, it's just because of the block type. So that's awesome. I can start building this up now and start putting in the actual pads. So we're going to start off just by doing a nice way of tracking our progress. So we're going to go ahead and build one bottom bit for collection for items. Then we're going to go and put the cactuses in, build the first killing platform, so it's the first shifting floor, mark down how long, well, how much stuff we get in, say 5 or 10 minutes from the farm, no gold, any other bits in it at all. We ignore ghast for this completely though, so let's make sure that only ghast can't spawn in the farm basically until I want them to, and I don't want them to until the end. So I've mapped that up and we'll get one pad going, time maybe 5-10 minutes, see what kind of gold rate we get from one, do the next pad, do the same, and we'll do that for all 32 pads. So we get a nice indication of sort of where the potential in the farm is. Does it reach a maximum at some point? Does it just keep going up higher and higher and higher? I don't know. We'll see how useful having 32 pads are compared to another number. It should be quite interesting. So I'm going to get ahead and build the first pad. I'll be back to you to show. Oh, and just to help me with the items, I've got a little tiny item elevator here. I turn on the dispensers, they throw things out of it. I can store some stuff into it as well. And then I can hit this button and up all they go. And I can go collect them from above, which is pretty cool. So I'm using that to get a lot of the items up. So just get that out of the way with right now. Let's go up there and show that they come through okay. Hopefully they do anyway. Haven't actually tested it for a little while. Up the items come. Go and grab them. They are, put them to your chest. Very good. So I'm going to finish all this and I'll be back to you in a second. Okay, so the first pad is completed. Now everything should be unspawnable apart from inside the platform on the redstone blocks. And I made it ghast proof as well because ghast can't spawn inside these bits here. And these bottom half slabs, that's all good. And also mobs can't spawn on this, obviously. Same way as mobs can't spawn on top of repeaters and comparators, so that should be fine as well. And everything else is half slabbed over. So that's very, very good. So we can test this just by going up there all the way to the top and making sure that only thing that is loaded up that can have spawnable area is this bit in here. No other block around here should be spawnable at all. So any spawns we get are in there, apart from down here. I made the cactus array here just like I did with the witch farm. Whoop. And the problem is that, actual fact, if I wanted to collect, I can't do that actually, can I? There up. If I want to collect the magma cream, I would need to have a hopper under one of these, and I can. But also here as well, I'd have a hopper under here, which I do now at the moment. Now because of this, mobs can spawn on this bit here, I believe. So you can get some pigmen spawning here, or a slime spawning here, I think. I've been playing around with it and some did seem to spawn. The only other option I would normally do would be to put either a fence post there, so it'd be unspawnable, or a glowstone block, which is also unspawnable. But if I want to try and get some magma cream, this is how I have to do it. So this is kind of the test, and we'll do this for now. It wouldn't be a hard thing to change afterwards anyway, even if I did the whole 8 pads and then changed it. So there's something to bear in mind as we carry on to see if there's anything spawned down here or not. So that's very good. So I'm going to test this. I'll be back with you with the results. Okay, first test done. Now I'm doing this systematically, so if you're wondering how I'm timing this or how accurate it is, I'm doing exactly the same each time. It's a scientific term, systematic. So I'm doing it exactly the same every single time so that the results, even if they're wrong themselves, they're all going to be done the same way, so therefore they're at least a little bit comparable between them. So all I do is climb up the ladder all the way to the top. When I'm at the top, I start a 5-minute timer. When that goes off, I then ender pearl down and look at the loot. That's it. So it's over 5 minutes, but it's the same every single go, so it's good. So one tower, one pad, just the one pad there, gets this much. Just on that go, it varies a lot. So that's and then we can project that up. And I'm just going to do is put a chest along and a sign for every single one I'm going to do, so we keep sort of a track of what we get. Now I did AFK up there for a little bit afterwards after a test, because I was on the phone to someone, and I got a little bit more. So even now, just on one pad, it's producing gold, it's good. But there are pigments spawning on this bit down here, on top of the hoppers, where the actual, where the carpet is, it seems. So some of them are down there. Haven't seen any slimes though, so we don't know what's going to happen with them. Now eventually when I finish this, if slimes get out, which they probably will, because they're going to fall and jump around, especially if a big one comes down, they're going to fall, split, and then split down here or something. I will need to put like kind of wall around the outside, and maybe put iron bars up or something so that they all stay in, but for the moment I'm really not too bothered with that. They're not going to be much of a problem at all. If you AFK'd it for a couple of hours and you had all of them running, you may sort of be exploded with slimes and magma cubes and that sort of thing, but for the moment I'm not really too concerned. So we're going to go and do the next pad now. I'll do the same test and I'll do the next 3 pads, I guess. We'll finish this one off completely and then I'll show you the results and then we're back for even more. Hello. Well, I know how they got here, I guess. Oh, that gives me an idea. Oh, because they changed the zombie's behaviour so that if a zombie got hurt, it would call friends. So the zombie underneath bedrock, which has been hurt, called a friend, and the friend has come up here. If you got them to give you testificate villagers, like zombie testificates, you could cure them and actually make an iron farm up here legitly. Well, as legit as it gets, because you can't actually move mobs through bedrock without killing them. That's a really good idea actually. I may have to think and test that out. Okay, so after some testing on a creative world, it is true that I can get villagers on top of the nether now in 1.6 due to the sociability of the zombies. Now I don't think I'd be doing that at least for a long time until we know if it's meant to be in the actual snapshots or not. It's kind of a weird thing. I know they were playing around with how the spawning was working on the social interaction with the zombies. We'll just leave that be for now, forget it, and just keep a note of it for the future possibly. Anyway, this farm is done, this one unit, 480 spawning spaces, 4 platforms, looks quite nice. Like I said, I may need to do the wall around it just to keep things in, but it works, and it looks good. Why don't I have more than 4 pads here? Now why have I got all these spaces lined out for more of these towers? Why don't I just put more pads in here? Well, this is the fact that the higher you go, the more often the lower ones will be active. So when the top one goes, next one goes, next one goes, next one goes, and so on. The more pads you have, the more time they're all going to be shifting underneath where they spawn. So you basically, every time something spawns at the top, you kind of disable half the farm for the whole time it goes down, which isn't very productive. So spreading out like this just to keep it nice and flat and more productive on there. So let's go look at the rates now, and it's okay so far. It's only 480 spaces. No, it's a tiny farm to begin with. So for the first one, we got 1 pad, 1 tower, 39 gold. We're just looking at the gold roughly, but the flesh and gold are genuinely a 50-50 split. So you can see where some might be higher, some might be low, anything else. 2 pads, got 90 gold. 3 pads, 103. 4 pads, 131. So it's about 30-40 gold in gold nuggets per pad every 5 minutes. So at the moment, that's with 4 pads like this. At the moment it's about 1.6 thousand gold nuggets an hour, which is about 175 bars. And I do hear a magma cream somewhere. Oh, must be underneath the bedrock. Oh, fair enough. So yeah, this is working fine, and I will make this a lot prettier and everything else, and a few things in there. But yeah, that's it for that bit. Now I need to go and make the next bit, so off I go to more work. Okay, here we are. 2 units are finished, and to be honest they look pretty awesome. So I actually had to do a little bit of editing to the design. That's why I always do it in survival after I do something creative. so I know that it works, and there's always things to test and weird bugs and things you find in it afterwards. So I've actually gone and extended these half slabs out one more block, so when these pistons are extended, things were spawning on them now and then on the actual redstone block, so I fixed it there so it's a bit more reliable there. Awesome. And yeah, I had to move each farm away from each other by one block because they were getting interfered in the middle when the redstone blocks were extended. They were sort of pushing each other, which wasn't what I wanted. Also moved the ladder so they're not interfering with any of the blocks. So yeah, 2 done, very reliable, awesome. Tested all the pads, made sure they all work correctly. So let's go look at the rates. Now note on me, I've got some gold blocks. These were the result of this unit only running a bit overnight for a few hours, so that's a nice little bit of gold to start off with. So we had the whole 30-40 per go up until we jumped onto 2 towers. So 1 tower 131, 2 towers 248. So yeah, that's a really big jump. So it shows you that having multiple platforms at the same sort of level, it really does extend the actual farmability, I guess. So yeah, that was a big surprise when that happened. And then on, we saw the same thing happen as we did before, and it got maybe 30-40. So we got up to here. This one is obviously probably a little bit high, so probably about 220 would have been what we would have expected normally. And I've only been tracking the actual gold because I've actually put in a sorter here to bin all the flesh that's coming through because there's just too much of it. So yeah, then 248, 261, 300, 325. So then on, it carried on the same sort of routine and no ton stuff. So yeah, it worked fine. And also overnight, this one unit here did generate 1 gas tier. Yeah, 1 gas tier. So it does work. So yeah, that's quite cool to know that gas tier's actually got all the way down, even if it's just 1. There's a bit extra gunpowder as well. There's probably 8 things of gunpowder altogether. So some gas died, just a matter of luck if you get the actual tier or not, and if it gets down. But just shows the principle does work. So I set up a little sorter here and a little storer just for a little brief thing for testing. But now I've done 2 pads. That's probably all I'm going to get done for the actual pads today because they take a lot of time to do. And what we need to do now is to sort it out so that all the stuff can come into central point here, come along to here and be sent through the portal. And that's the aim for the rest of the day, to make sure I can get it to the overworld and stored correctly and AFK. There's one thing we need to combat though, because if I go through this portal, they should still be here. You'll probably see what I'm going to talk about straight away. Yeah, I've been in the nether a little bit too long. Yeah, so that would lead a problem to if I put minecarts through. So I probably need to put a half step here or something to stop, actually on top of this bit here, to stop pigmen walking through and interfering with carts. Yeah, that could be an issue with that. Not an issue with items going through, but yeah, that could be something I need to think about in future. So yeah, we'll go back through and I'm going to gear up a whole sorter to pull the things out. And because, let's go back above bedrock, because I split up the actual collection sort of pans, I made it so that half of the pads would go to one output and half of them would go to the other. So you see there's 2 bits going down each side. So this 7, because I extended it 1 because I moved it over 1 and I didn't move the inside bit over. So the pads at the bottom are a little bit bigger now. So these 7 go to this one here and 6 there go to that one there. Now I want to probably do these 2 going to one sorter, these 2 going to another sorter, and then having it centrally collected and sent to the middle. Probably the nicest way to do it, because you can get a little bit of backlog from the things coming through. It takes a while at the moment, and more sorters is always nicer, just quicker overall to get it into the system, and that needs to feed in and be sent through. So I set something up for that. It should be quite nice, and then I'll come back and show you. Okay, and it's done, and I have to say I love using hoppers. They're the best thing ever in vanilla. Great fun. So here I've made it so from above you only see glowstone, and that's just to keep it spawn proof as well, but it looks pretty good. And I've organised 2 sorters in this. There's one there and one here. So just go down there and have a look. So that sorter over there is just taking out the actual flesh, and so there's this one here. So the first 7 of this side go to here, and the first 7 of this side go to here. the 6 in the middle on each side go to that one there. Now I could have made it just to sort this side and then move it into a thing, and then sort that side and move it to a thing, but this is more fun and it's quite cool. And I've got plenty of iron at the moment, so I'm not really bothered about making lots of hoppers. So they're insta destroy through cactus. You can fire straight into it, so there's no spillage at all. Get rid of that nice and quickly. Then we go into, so this line comes from this one, goes all the way into this chest here. So this farm is basically designed to spread out the load, because if there's more spawning one place than the other, you don't want to have a backup on one side or anything else. You want it all to go in. So there's a buffer system in this. So first of all, it's equaling it out so that some go into some go to the other, to sort of buffer that between the two pads. So even if one pad is operating faster than the other, then half of it's going to one place and half of it's going somewhere else. So overall, it should be buffered. So then they're coming to these chests here. So when these sides are done, they're coming to this side of the chest, and this is then double sent through to there. So that's a nice way of doing it, so that if this side's operating faster than that one, they're coming through the same chest, then both of these hoppers can take it from that one chest. So it all works very nicely. They come through to here. This sorter takes the other side like I showed you, comes down here, then comes to the top of it here, goes to the chest again. Now this chest will buffer it the same thing as that over there, buffer it twice, comes through, then gets pulled out of that, and comes through easy. Then over here I've got a double shooter, so I've got 2 dispensers in this, like so, in the middle. We'll then send it through just a nice little detector, the same thing I've done for over them as well, I guess, just like this, and a nice easy way to get up, and everything's covered in glowstone. So yeah, it works very well. So we'll just send some items through, we'll go check that it does work. So we'll send glowstone through that side, and we'll just send half a stack of iron on that side, and wait for it to go through. So this will go through at the right pace. So I know from this side, this farm, 1 dispenser and 1 sorter kept up with all 2 of them. No, just about. So this side has got 2 sorters, which will sort that completely fine. Comes through to here, so in theory, all this farm will come through into this one line directly. If this overflow, it'll go into the next one as well, but mostly it'll come to this one here. Now I know one line can accommodate both of them, so that's going to work completely fine. Therefore these dispensers will be able to keep up as well. That's very, very good. So it's gone through, it should be 23 glowstone and 32 iron. So go through this one here instead. This takes us to the middle, and I will end up needing to check about making the actual entrance for the minecarts when they come in actually spawn proof, so that pigmen don't get in the way of the carts when they come through. But for now, it's just like this still, and we've got 15 there and 6 there, and we've got 17 there, and we got the other bit there. So yeah, 23 and 32 all gets through. Doesn't really matter how it gets through, because I did all these hoppers before, so that wherever it goes, it'll come through. Even though they're firing through the top of the portal, they still make it into these hoppers, which is brilliant. So that works. So let's go wait in the nether for a little while AFK, and let's come back and see what kind of output we're going to get. Okay, so I actually changed the cactus in the end for lava, because they're being a little bit annoying, and I tested it for half an hour, and I got this and this come through, which is 1,639 gold nuggets, about 3.3 thousand an hour, which is about 364 bars an hour at the moment, which is not as big as my previous farm yet, but I've only done a quarter of it. That's 5,000 blocks of those spawning pads out of 20,000 I have to do for all 32 pads. I've done 8 so far, 32 in total. So that is all that I have time for today. It's a lot of work, and I really want to get the whole farm finished for next episode, as in not during next episode, for next episode, then show you. But I also really want to do a world download. So episode 10, I want to world download episode 10, have the farm finished, those goals all done. But I really would like to see some likes for that. Now, if we get, say, 500 likes, then I will completely finish that farm and give a new download next episode, and we'll do something new in episode 10. Just a little bit of motivation there, because it is a lot of work to do. So, thank you very much for joining me, guys. Hope you've enjoyed. Hope you're going to enjoy seeing the farm finished, and I'll see you next time, guys.